The Cygnar force is led by Captain Victoria Phaley. Her battle group consists of a defender and a lancer. There is also a Squire Warcaster attachment. There is a full unit of Stormguard. An Archduke Arlane Runewood. A unit of Arcane Tempest gun mages with the Arcane Tempest gun mage officer, the unit attachment, who is this model with his white rimmed hat. There is also a Journeyman Warcaster solo, and that is the Cygnar force. The Khador force is led by Supreme Kommandant Irusk. His battle group consists of a Spriggan. There is a full unit of Iron Fang Pikemen, but for this game, they are instead accompanied by the Black Dragon unit attachment, making them all Black Dragons. And there is also the Iron Fang Kovnik solo. The Great Bears of Gallowswood. A Winter Guard motor crew. A unit of Widowmakers. The Widowmaker Marksman solo, and a unit of Greylord Ternion. We are playing the Steamroller 2013 scenario, Chemical Reaction. There are two 12-inch by 6-inch rectangular zones on the table, as well as two large base alchemical device objectives. The objectives are constructs and are defense 5, armor 18, with 15 damage boxes, hence the black dice on the bases. In order to score control points, scoring occurs after the second player's second turn at the end, and you get 1 control point for the enemy objective that is destroyed, and you get this point only once. If you dominate your friendly zone, that is the one closest to your table edge, you get 1 control point. And if you control the enemy zone, you get 2 control points. And if you dominate the enemy zone, you get 3 control points. The first to 5, with more control points than the opponent, wins the game. We roll off this EO goes first, and we tie. So then we roll again, and Khador wins the roll-off. Khador deploys in a nice brick formation, with the Black Dragons leading the way in the front. The Iron Fang Kovnik is to the left of Irusk, along with the Spriggan and the Winter Guard motor crew. The Greylord Ternion are spread out to the right of Irusk, along with the Great Bears of Gallowswood to Irusk's right. And this was the deployment in such a way to make best use out of eIrusk's abilities, Total Obedience and Martial Discipline. Cygnar deploys also in a sort of a brick formation. The Stormguard are leading the way in the front, along with the Lancer, and the defenders hanging back to the right of Phaley. The Squire is right next to Phaley, and the Journeyman Warcaster is to her right, and Runewood is to her left. The Arcane Tempest gun mages are over on the forest here. The Widowmakers advance deploy to the left flank of the Black Dragons behind this house, facing off against the Cygnar force. Khador, turn 1. Irusk gets all 7 of his focus, and allocates 1 to the Spriggan. The Black Dragons then activate and run. The Iron Fang Kovnik activates and also runs. The Greylord Ternion activate and also run. The Great Bears of Gallowswood activate and also run, staying in defensive line. Irusk then activates, casts Energizer for 3, immediately advancing the Spriggan 3 inches, and himself 3 inches. He then quickly measures the control area to the Mortar crew, considering casting fire for effect, but instead opts to cast Tactical Supremacy on the Black Dragons, which allows them to move 3 inches extra after all units in the Khador force have activated. And then Irusk declares a charge on a model off camera and ends his activation. The Widowmakers then activate and advance. One of them attempts to make a shot at a Stormguard, and he is out of range. The Widowmaker Marksman then activates and simply advances behind the Widowmakers. The Rent-to-Guard Mortar crew activate and advance forward. And then the Spriggan activates and then runs. And then Tactical Supremacy kicks in, and the Black Dragons advance their extra 3 inches. Should have been more aware of the large base in that one, in the previous one. Cygnar, turn 1. pHaley pulls a focus from the Squire and gains 8 focus. She allocates 1 to the Lancer. The Lancer then activates and runs. The Stormguard activate and also run. The Journeyman Warcaster then activates and advances. She then casts Arcane Shield on the Stormguard. Archduke Runewood activates and gives Overcome to the Gun Mages, and also advances. The Gun Mages activate and advance and have Pathfinder through Runewood's Overcome. And since they're within 3 inches of a forest, they can shoot out of it without any penalty, and he's doing the snipe bullet. He hits and does no damage. The second one also fires a snipe round, is in range, hits, and does no damage as well. The next one fires at the same target and is barely in range, and he misses. Another one fires at a second Black Dragon and is also barely in range, and he misses. Another one fires at the same Black Dragon is in range and hits. And kills. Another one then fires a sniper round as well. We check range, and he is barely out of range. The defender then activates and advances, and takes a shot at the Spriggan. And he is also out of range. pHaley activates and then casts Temporal Barrier. And then she issues a charge on a model off camera. The Squire then activates and runs behind pHaley. And this is what the board looks like at the end of round 1. The distance is closing. Classic matchup of Khador versus Cygnar. Khador, turn 2. Irusk gets all 7 focus and upkeeps tactical supremacy. Then he gives 1 to the Spriggan. The Widowmakers activate. And then advance just a bit, mainly to get out of the way of the Spriggan. And then one opens fire on a Stormguard. Is in range. He hits and does a sniper point of damage, killing him. The Capitan fires, hits, does a sniper point and kills, and does Swift Hunter, thanks to the Widowmaker Marksman. Another one fires, another Stormguard, is in range, that's less than 14, hits, and does a sniper point, and there's a field promotion. The last one fires another Stormguard, and he is in range. He hits and does a sniper point, and also does a slight Swift Hunter move. Irusk then activates, and then he checks line of sight to the Mortar crew. And looking at it here, I actually didn't have line of sight to the Mortar crew, so they shouldn't have fire for effect at this time. And then he casts Energizer for 1. Advancing the Spriggan an inch, and also himself an inch. He then advances into the zone and pops his feet. Desperate ground. Irusk then takes a hand cannon shot at the Journeyman Warcaster, and we measure off camera and boosts the hit. And he misses by 1. The Spriggan then activates and advances toward the Lancer. The Iron Fang Kovnik advances, he falls, and then does the Shield March special action on the Black Dragons. The Greylords activate and advance ever so slightly. And each one does Blizzard, a special action on a Black Dragon. They can see through thanks to martial discipline, and they're all in range. However, here, I should not have been able to see that model, and the clouds are marked by the black dice. Then the Black Dragons activate into a shield wall order, moving 8 inches thanks to the Iron Fang Kovnik's shield march. Don't worry about the dice. They'll be moved accordingly. And here, I'm making best sure that they're all base to keep that great armor in shield wall. In combination with what the black dragons normally do as well. And I also noticed that I'm a little bit too generous with my measurements here. Like, after I move them, I nudge them up a little bit. I need to be aware of that. And then, the last guy moves up. And they pop their mini feat, Iron Zeal. The Great Bears activate and advance behind the Iron Fang Kovnik. See, that's a little bit of a nudge. A little bit too generous. Then the motor crew activates and fires at the gun mages. And is barely out of range with their range 20 gun. And so it deviates to the 6 inches. And hits the gun mage officer and a single gun mage. The gun mage officer takes a POW 8 blast damage. They should not have been boosted, and it kills him in this case, but it would have killed this guy normally, since POW 8 and armor 11. And it does. Cygnar, turn 2. pHaley then pulls another focus from the Squire, and gains 8 focus. She allocates 2 to the defender, and then the Journeyman upkeeps Arcane Shield. pHaley then activates, and then casts Temporal Barrier, and then advances ever so slightly. And then casts Deadeye on the gun mages. And then she takes a hand cannon shot at Iron Fang, and is in range, and hits. And die -10 here, and does no damage. And then she pops her feat. The gun mages then activate, and then moves so slowly thanks to eIrusk's feat. They can only move 2 inches in this forest. Then the first one takes a shot using Critical Brutal and is in normal range. He hits, but no critical. And the second shot, and hits, but no critical. Then another one fires, hits, but no critical. His second shot hits, but no critical. Another one fires, is in normal range, actually just barely out, and then he takes a second shot, and is in, and he hits but no critical. And then another one fires, is in range, just barely in range. He hits but no critical. Then his second shot, he hits but no critical. Then the Stormguard activate and advance only their 4 inches thanks to eIrusk's feat, and they can't charge because of eIrusk's feat. Then there's a 2-man CMA on one model. He hits and does no damage. Then a single attack misses. Then another single attack hits and does no damage. These are PAL 12 striking them. And there's a second 2-man CMA on the same model that took the first one. He hits and does no damage. Then the second attack, he hits and does no damage. Another attack hits and does no damage. And then the defender activates and walks up. He then takes a shot at the Spriggan and is in range. And this should have hit. So he buys an extra attack. Actually, he boosts his second attack and hits. And does 10 damage to the 3. And then the Journeyman activates and advances. And then takes a shot at a Widowmaker with her hand cannon. Is in range. She boosts to hit. Hits. And then he makes a tough roll and makes it. Then Runewood activates and advances up. And then also takes a hand cannon shot at the Capitan. And is barely out of range. And this is what round 2 looks like. Armies have clashed. The brick has held. What will happen to Cygnar now? Stay tuned. Khador, turn 3. Irusk then gets all of his 7 focus and drops Tactical Supremacy. And upkeeps the illegal casted Fire for effect, and gives 2 focus to the Spriggan. The Greylord Ternion activate and then run to the enemy zone. The Motor Crew activates and then fires at the Journeyman Warcaster. Is in range and hits directly, and she dies from taking a POW 16 and Arcane Shield drops. Runewood then takes a POW 8 and takes 4 damage. And the Spriggan walks up into combat with the Lancer and then uses his War Lance to attack. He hits automatically and does die even damage, 9 damage to the 5. Our table position was really bad, hence the glare on the card protector. And his right arm is gone. Then I do an illegal thing and buy another War Lance attack. I'm supposed to do the shield at this time. And I hit and do a massive 11 damage with the War Lance. This should have been a boosted damage for the shield, but oh well, what can you say? The shield has 1 box left, and I take the 2 points of Cortex damage from attacking him twice. Then I buy my last War Lance attack illegally as well. Hits, and then does 9 damage to the Lancer, which takes him out. And there's his wreck. And then there's my last point of Cortex, and I lost my Cortex. The clouds go away on the Iron Fangs, and they just do a shield wall order and advance towards the Stormguard, ready to start stabbing with their blasting pikes. The first one attacks the Stormguard. He hits, and die -2, killing him. And the Iron Fang model was wanting to go as well, but he can't, not just yet. And another one attacks. He hits and kills. This one not so easy to go. Not so eager. Then I measure my melee range here to make an attack. And then he's in range and attacks. And he misses. Then another Iron Fang attacks. He hits. and then kills him. I've been saying Iron Fangs. Huh, I meant Black Dragons. Oh well. Another one attacks. And kills. Another one attacks the unit leader. Is in range. Was in range. Always was. Hits. And kills. And there's another field promotion. The last one. And then there's a massive casualties check from all that, and they're okay. The Widowmakers activate. The tough guy stands up, forfeiting his movement. And then one takes a shot. Actually, the one stands up and takes a shot at the unit leader of the Stormguard. And hits automatically, does a sniper point, and he dies. I was hoping I didn't hit my own guy there. And then a Widowmaker fires at Runewood, being able to see through thanks to martial discipline. He should be in range, and he is. He hits, and does a sniper point, and kills Runewood. And then Irusk advances backward towards the back of the zone and measures his control area. And sits on the last 4 focus. And this is the end of round 3 because my opponent had, due to lack of time, we were constrained on times while filming this. So my opponent concedes the game, resulting in a Khador victory.
Alright, so here's our post-game, and we're doing this outside of the store since it's rather packed, and it's very, very noisy. More so than usual, so here we go. So what you saw us do here was that we did a basically mock steamroller scenario type of thing. We both made 2 lists on our own, and we followed the steamroller rules, looked at each other's lists, and then picked one, and then guessed which one that our opponents would take. So I had both pIrusk and eIrusk. He had eStriker and pHaley. So my thought process was that if he took eStriker, I could handle him no problem with either list. But eIrusk would shut him down harder because of his feat. He could get around pIrusk through his feat by doing the lightning overload. It lets you activate twice. I know
his feet.
It's mainly his feet that lets him activate twice, and so he'd be able to force me to make more tough rolls. And later, dude.
Later, gentlemen.
And basically, it's just making me roll dice and see if he can crack the brick. That's why I didn't mainly bring pIrusk, and he's also used to me doing Iron Flesh and stuff.
I was worried about Iron Flesh spam. I was expecting either P-Butcher or pIrusk, which are his usual casters, coupled with really high defense, Iron Fangs or Winter Guard. So I decided to go with pHaley instead, which had very little armor cracking, but it was extremely accurate between Temporal Barrier, Runewood to give +2 on the charge, and Deadeye for gun mages. It just didn't work out for me though, because he picked what I did not expect, which was eIrusk with a brick and lots of armor, and there was just nothing I could do about that.
Those black dragons! Wow, those black dragons! Hey, I'll get hit and nothing happens to me.
Pretty much. Not one critical on those Dead-Eyed gun mages.
Out of 5 shots too. That's pretty bad.
Oh, they also had their extra shots too from the feet, and
yeah,
it's a smaller probability, but at least one of them, maybe out of 10 shots, should have gotten a critical.
What else is there? What did you think of the scenario? It didn't really seem to come into play, but the scenario was cool. It was a chemical reaction, I think it was called.
Chemical reaction?
Okay.
It's all right.
But when you have, of course, a longer game than 3 turns.
Yeah. Although you would have won on scenario next turn anyway. I had to get the assassination on that last turn right then, and there was no way I could do that after you moved Irusk back.
Yep. And I was like, all right. So I just destroyed his Stormguard. He's gonna try to go to assassination, and let me keep this 4 focus.
That's it.
Anything else that you want to bring up?
No.
Yeah, that's it. So we're easily gonna do a rematch with this. So
Oh,
expect that soon.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to be doing the same thing, following steamroller rules, and also we randomly rolled for this scenario here of chemical reaction, so we're going to be doing the same thing. We're doing that all off camera just to keep things simple. So thanks guys for watching. See you guys in the next battle report.